Game 82 is in the books, ladies and gentlemen, jamsters of the jury. The Phoenix Suns end the regular season of the 2022-2023 season with a 45-37 record. Doesn't sound too great, does it? 45 wins, 37 losses. It's good enough for the 4 seed, okay, in the Western Conference, 4 seed. So their final game of the season is at home against the Los Angeles Clippers, and they lose the game. And it was actually quite a fight, Matthew. Quite a fight that the C squad of the Phoenix Suns put up, only losing by, 5 points, 4 points? A few points?
Yeah, it was great. I actually watched the first half, and I loved what I saw from the bench unit, but then they got the loss, and that's all I cared because I want to play the Clippers. Clippers lose, we play the Warriors.
Exactly.
So,
and
perfect game. Perfect game by the Suns.
Definitely something I want to talk about on this podcast is how did you feel as you were watching this game? And how did you feel as the Suns were up, by 11 points? I got home, happy Easter to everybody.
Happy Easter, yeah.
Yes, tis Easter.
Sitting on eggs out there.
the hottest day of the year thus far, though, Matthew. What kind of shit is that?
Yeah, I was saying we were doing the Easter egg hunt. Niece and nephew out there with Target bags for their Easter baskets, and it was hot. I was just standing inside watching them, basically in the shadows. I was like, the hottest day, they're out there getting eggs. It's been cold all year. All year. It's been nice.
He's got a nice wet cloth pressing against his brow, just being like, "Oh, it's ever so hot."
Got a nice tan though. I laid out, took my shirt off, laid out, hit some eggs under me.
Think hit some eggs under you. Think of all the people who did Easter egg hunts in the greater Phoenix area, and they left 1 or 2 eggs out there. It's gonna start smelling pretty quick. That's the disadvantage on doing Easter egg hunts in Phoenix, because sometimes Easter falls like it did today on the 9th of April. Sometimes a little earlier. Sometimes it's later. And those later ones, I mean, I remember the latest it being was, I want to say like the 20th of April. So it's like, it's really tough for people like celebrating 420 and Easter on the same day. Because they hid the eggs and they just forgot where they were at. And they're just like, fuck it, man. Like, I don't need to find those. Let me have me another gummy.
Well, these ones are actually plastic ones with chocolate in them. So there are some probably still out there and just melted away.
Exactly. That's what it is, though. You hide those Easter eggs, whether they're the full-on hard-boiled eggs that everyone boils and then dyes, or the ones that have chocolate and then they instantly melt. So it's unfortunate. And it's, as you mentioned, it's been a really, really nice spring by Arizona standards in the Valley of the Sun. So, of course, on the day where it hits like 90 degrees is when Easter is. I think tomorrow's supposed to be mid-90s, and then it like drops right back down to normal weather. So, again, Jamsters, thanks for stopping by for the weather report. We really hope that you enjoyed that.
That's that segment. Now, moving on to what do you want to talk about?
Well, we got
talk about the game.
So surprisingly, I think we should talk about the Phoenix Suns. We've got plenty to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. So for those of you who are joining us live, thank you for doing so. Thanks for coming on with us a little later after the game. We waited until 4 p.m. Arizona time to do this so I could finish up with work. Matthew could finish up
egg hunting,
his suntan whilst egg hunting with the nieces and nephews. So we thought we'd do that. So again, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you're listening to the pod, whether it be today or tomorrow. Hope you're having a good work week already. Hope you make this a good work week. It's Monday shit. It's almost Friday. Okay, that's the way you just got to look at it.
Yeah, and dude, just look at yourself right now and be like, why do I feel this way? Just say, stop being a bitch. Get up, go after it. Start feeling good. You know what I mean? Don't feel the same way you have the past 30 years. Change things.
Go on Weight Watchers. Start counting your points. Be miserable. Be miserable, but be happy at the same time. Do whatever you want. So on that note, Jamsters, we're going to go ahead and pop them open. I've got a teeth-cracking cold water here. Matthew, I assume that you have some
jug somewhere.
There we go. So jug them if you got them. It's a 119 to 114 victory for the Phoenix Suns. Oh, loss for the Phoenix Suns. My bad. In that last quarter, they gave up 37 points to the Clippers. They only scored 28. But that brings me to my first question. Not that drop.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask, is there a graphic here?
No, there's none. Well, we didn't use the one last time, so I was like, I'm not.
Oh, well, the last time there was so many.
I thought we were doing the wheel thing again today. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to make one if we're not going to use it.
Well, the question I had in my Matthew I've got to ask segment, where does Easter rank for you when it comes to holidays?
Oh, last. It's cool
right.
To get together. Yeah, you kind of forget about it, which is bad. It's bad to say. I mean, all the religious people out there, but I do love getting together with the family, hanging out. Like today was a blast for 2 hours, just making cookies and stuff like that and eating some good food. But it's last. It's just a reason to get together, right? What about you?
I'm pretty much the same. I don't ever look forward to Easter. Like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Arbor Day. Like you look forward to those different holidays.
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, I want to hug a tree today, and I love trees.
I forgot what that even meant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when you're laying out tanning, and you just hear the soft rustle of the leaves. You're like, Arbor Day, man, I can't wait for that. But Easter's just kind of there, and I'm don't hide Easter egg baskets. I don't have small children, so it's not like I get up for it. Trying to explain the entire holiday alone is just kind of weird because it has to do with, obviously the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but there's bunnies involved, there's eggs involved. It's never on the same Sunday because it's predicated by the moon. Like it's the most Christian of holidays, yet it's predicated it being the first Sunday after the first full moon in spring. So spring's always March 20th, 21st. So whenever there's a full moon, the next Sunday it'll be Easter. It's like that. Yeah, it's all, it's just weird. It
is weird. I thought it had to do with the Robin Hood thing where he stole from the rich, gave to the poor. I really thought that's where it started. So
yeah, no, it's all lunar. It's all lunar. So that's just where I'm at. But looking at this game, let's Stephanie Jackson in the chat. Happy Easter. Suns hug. Suns hugs for everybody.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't involve any pricklies, like a cactus or something, right?
Well, yeah, no hugging cacti.
No pricks.
Not a good way. Not a good way to go. So a few things we do want to talk about when it comes to this game. As you mentioned earlier, you watched the first half. I watched the second half, or at least the last quarter. And the question coming into this game is, how do you want what result do you ultimately want? And as you're watching this game, you have to navigate that result as it's occurring because you liked what you saw from the team, right? Saben Lee is playing fantastic. Just the entire way that the Suns, both on offense and defense, were engaged for the last two games, for that matter, were really impressive. And obviously it doesn't account to much. We know that because we've played the Denver C squad the last two times we played Denver, and there's no such thing as a moral victory. But as you're watching this game, are you sitting there going, fuck, man, we're up? Or, oh, sweet, we just lost because you want the Clippers, or vice versa because you want the Warriors?
Well, I thought the Clippers would eventually win. Like I knew the way today was going to go was I was going to watch the bench play. I didn't think they're going to play this great. The ball was moving. They were moving. I mean, everything was just looking crisp, honestly. Missing some open shots, but hitting a lot of them. Playing hard the whole game. And I think the big surprise was, for me, Darius Bazley. He was a little fumbling, mumbling there for a little bit, but he got things together. He had a huge dunk early in the game. So I don't know if you saw that. A big dunk over Plumlee. It was huge. Got the bench straight up. And everyone was running over there like mid-court to celebrate that one. So it was good to see him. He took a while to get used to the game because he hasn't played that many minutes, but he looked pretty decent. It's not like, oh, these are going to be good minutes for him in the playoffs. It was just nice to see him play well. And I love Saben Lee. So pissed he cannot play in the playoffs because I love him as like a third option or even the backup point guard. But I did think that they were going to come out and play hard, not this hard. But I did also think, too, when I'm over with the family for the second half, just hanging out, watching on my phone, I'm like, I'm going to pull it up one time and it's going to say Clippers are winning. I'm like, okay, that's game. And that's what happened. And I'm very, very happy because I personally want to play the Clippers in the first round. That's what needed to happen because I looked at the Warriors score and they were up by 30 points. And I'm like, I want to avoid the Warriors. But then I'm like, maybe I just wanted to play them and get it over with, kind of like what you said. But you know what? I'll take the Clippers first round, and if we can't get past the Clippers, then we don't deserve anything. So it's nice to start out with them.
Yeah, I'll start with what you were just talking about. I'll move backwards to talk about Saben Lee and Darius Bazley, the men who have no drops. It's like I'm watching
that
those
weird?
guys play, and I'm like, oh
Yes.
man, like
You're like, you
shit.
don't know what to do with your hands. You're like,
Yeah,
I gotta
I'm
select a drop.
like I need to select a drop when I talk about a player, and they don't exist. But yesterday, I wrote a piece for brightsideofthesun.com. So for those of you who like to read, head on over there, and you can read my piece. And I essentially was making the case as to why the Phoenix Suns should want to play the Warriors and why the Phoenix Suns should want to play the Clippers, and ultimately put it to a vote so the readers on Brightside could state who they would prefer the Suns play in the first round. And the results of that vote was 1490 people voted on this. Okay. 76% wanted the Clippers. As I was writing the piece, initially the piece was going to be fortifying the statements that I've made over the past couple podcasts, saying why I want the Warriors. Okay, and giving reasons as to what the Clippers are capable of, as kind of negative points to wanting to play them, and then transition that into, well, let's take a look at the Warriors. And here, you take that the Clippers are good at this, the Warriors aren't good here, therefore we should want to play the Warriors. But as I was developing that piece and writing it down and starting to look at the numbers and really delving into the two matchups that lie before us, I quickly changed it into the piece that I described, in which it's like, hey, pros of both, because I realized as I wrote it that I don't want to play the Warriors in the first round. Now, I do state in the article that much akin to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. God, if I could, so close. There.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who we play in the first round. I start off by literally saying that. Like, it doesn't matter who we play in the first round, because the Clippers and the Warriors are both teams that are highly beatable for the Phoenix Suns. But as I started talking about the Clippers, I talk about how the fact that Paul George is gone, right? And we don't know when he's coming back. Didn't look good, but on March 21st, he got injured against Oklahoma City Thunder. He might have avoided major injury, but he was going to be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks, quote unquote, per Adrian Wojnarowski. And in losing him, they lost 23.8 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game, as well as somebody who shoots 37.1% from beyond the arc. And the interesting thing is they actually score more points now that he's not in the game and playing with the team, but the team has now gone 5-3 in his absence. But then as I started to talk about the point that I was making to you, that it's their interior depth of the Clippers that somewhat scares me. With Ivica Zubac and Mason Plumlee, I feel like combined they can give the Suns kind of a challenge on the interior. But then I started looking at the statistics and really breaking it down, and the team is 17th in total rebounds, and over the last 15 games, they're 24th. They shoot 33.5 field goal attempts inside 10 feet, which is 4th worst in the league. And note that the Suns are 3rd worst in the league. So they're not a team that attacks the interior. They're not a team that rebounds well. Versus like the Warriors, who are the number 1 in the league in 3-point attempts, in 3-point makes, and 2nd highest in the league in 3-point percentage at 38.3%. You got Klay Thompson, you got Steph Curry, you got Jordan Poole, you got a lot of people who can really beat you and carry momentum. Now, I understand that they're one of the worst teams in the NBA on the road. In fact, the only teams that are worse than the Warriors on the road in the NBA are the Spurs, Pistons, and Rockets, and that's probably going to be like 1, 2, 3 in the draft. So after looking at all that and putting around in my little head, I go, you know what? And the sheer fact that Russell Westbrook disappears, he puts up stats, but he's a 0 on defense, and you can easily target him in a series. As I was watching today's game, I was like, you know what? Fuck, man, the Suns are winning. Suns are up 11. Suns are up 7. Suns are back up 10. I'm like, Jesus. So eventually, the Clippers took the lead, and I'm like, you know what? The Suns gave me everything that I wanted in this game, but ultimately, I like the decision. And I like the result because the Suns are going to play the Clippers in the first round next Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best opponent, really. They're talking a lot about maybe next year. I mean, usually these things start with the ringer. It started with with Kevin O'Connor where he was talking about the first seed should get to choose their opponent, right? And if I'm just saying, if you had to choose out of the top 5 seeds right now, or if you're the
Mhm.
number 1 seed,
Yeah, you
you would
take the
choose to play the
Clippers.
Clippers, yeah, over the Warriors too. So it's like the Suns kind of ended up lucky here, right? I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but
Nope.
it's definitely a favorite for them. And you're talking about Zubac and Plumlee. Definitely, the interior presence is there. But what I like to see from Bazley tonight or today during the day on Easter Sunday, he was just taking it to the rack. Like, he has a hard time finishing, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but these guys he can get by. And I know that's not DeAndre's game at all to really take anybody to the hole. But I'm just saying these guys can be taken out of the game if you were to play that way. It's just too bad like DeAndre doesn't really have that game, but he can definitely play those guys. I'm interested to see how this goes, and I kind of think it just goes kind of we'll have the playoff preview, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but it just kind of goes by like how Russell Westbrook helps this team, and of course Westbrook's back to he's been not his old self, but he's definitely better. He's not what he was with the Lakers because I feel like this team with the Clippers, they're a more confident, competent team just within themselves. They're not insecure like LeBron and AD, where things are not going their way and they're gonna start blaming it on Russ. Russ is just out there playing ball now too, which can be kind of scary. He can. What the other game, what was he like 6 for 6? I think like last week. Excuse my voice crack. He was like 6 for 6 from 3, feeling good. So that guy can get it rolling once in a while. It's just he's kind of back to just playing some good ball. We're back in the day. I mean, we both wanted him on this team, but we wanted him only to play like the 10 to 12, 15 minutes. But he's going to be the starter for the Clippers, and he can be played out of the game too. So I feel like the two big guys and Russ, they can be played out of the game, not out hustled, but just you can just take them out with our athleticism and just outplaying them in a way where Westbrook's kind of just not the same that he used to be. And if he starts missing some shots, he'll get down on himself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then that team will kind of they're not going to be like the Lakers where they're going to be discouraging, but they're just like, man, we don't have the other guy. We don't have Paul George. And that's just the number one thing right there. If George was on this team, the defense would be stifling. Like you said, the offensive numbers look a little better without him, but they know how to control the game better with Paul George. I'm excited to see this first round matchup, man. It kind of feels weird, right? Like that it's over and we're starting against the Clippers. Like, does it feel like anything to you? Are you excited? I'm excited, but
Of course,
the Clippers, it's like I don't know. I'm excited, but it's just not going to be like a real series. I feel like
had it been the Warriors, there would be a lot more angst there. That's for sure. For a couple reasons. One, for the reasons I stated before, knowing that this team has won 4 titles in the last 8 years, they have a championship pedigree. They have something that they can draw upon that no other team can truly draw upon in the NBA. So if you're going into a first round matchup against the Warriors, although I definitely think it's a team that we can beat, I think that it prolongs the process and there's a little extra anxiety there. Whereas with the Clippers, again, we don't know what's going to happen with Paul George. He could play in this series. I mean, that 2 to 3 weeks, it was March 21st when he got injured. The timeline lines up perfectly with a week off for him to come back and play. It's the potential still lies there. But they would be learning on the fly with Paul George, with Kawhi Leonard, and with Russell Westbrook all in the lineup at the same time, because that's not something they saw a huge chunk of this season, right? Russell Westbrook came over in the trade, and he's played 20 games since, and he only played a total of 12 games with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And he was 13.3 points per game. He had 7.3 assists. He had 5.4 rebounds, 3.7 turnovers, 25% from beyond the arc in those games. And it was a challenge initially. You got to remember when he first came over, they lost their first like 6-7 games together. They put on a little winning streak after that. Then Paul George got hurt. But you'd rather have the Suns play a team that mentally doesn't have that pedigree that the Warriors have. And like you said, Russell Westbrook, a very schizophrenic player, somebody who can get in his own feelings, someone who has guys kicked out of the stadium because he's so in tune with what's occurring on the sidelines versus what's occurring on the court. Is he going to put up some good numbers? Yeah. Is he going to put up and have some exciting plays? Of course. But he's also going to be, like I said, a zero on defense, so you can really, really target him And with the way that the Suns offense is built, they will just pick Russell Westbrook apart on defense for easy baskets. And to answer Jose's question in the chat, he said, did the Clippers sit down anyone tonight? They didn't. This was them fighting, because you have to realize where the Clippers were coming from in this game. If they had lost, okay, and the Pelicans would have won, then the Clippers are in the play-in game. They're playing the Lakers at the 7th seed. So and the beautiful thing that the NBA did today is they put all the games on at the same time.
Perfect.
It was great.
That was awesome. Yep.
There's none of this like, okay, well, we ended the game at 4. Now the night games are coming. They already know what's going to happen. So they're going to no, you play. You go out there and you play. And the Pelicans, it was, what a concept.
Yeah,
right?
Go out there and play. It's so fucking dumb. Excuse my language on Easter.
So dumb. Jeez.
It is so dumb. But the one thing I was thinking about too with the Warriors, it'd be kind of nice to play them first and beat them, because kind of build that callus for like the rest of the playoffs. And I think like the Miami Heat kind of did to, I guess, the Bucks the year they won, like where they beat the Heat in the first round, kind of toughened them up. I think if the Suns were to go to the Warriors and beat them in 6 or 7, the rest of the players, I'm not saying would be super easy, but that would have been so good for them. That would have been great for KD. That would have been great for just the Suns team and all. But overall, just KD. I know it's KD, but still, the Suns team would have felt so great about themselves for beating the Warriors in the first round and getting that over with, because that's the one team that scares me going into the playoffs, is the Warriors healthy, and just that's it. So,
yeah, it definitely would have been a galvanizing series had they won it. But at the same time, I think that this allows more games to Phoenix to find their rhythm, to integrate Kevin Durant even more. And you look at the history of the Phoenix Suns against the Clippers, and twice they've played in the playoffs before. 2021, the Western Conference Finals, the Suns won 4-2, the Valley Oop. And then if you go all the way back to 2006, they played in the Western Conference semifinals. The Suns won in 7 games, and probably the most memorable moment of that game, of that series, was in Game 5, the double overtime game that was forced to a double overtime by an amazing shot by Raja Bell in the corner. So who knows? Maybe we're going to have another amazing shot occur against the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, going back to Saben Lee and Darius Bazley, okay? Again, I'd play their drops right now, but they don't have them. Darius Bazley, I hope you guys enjoyed him. It was a fun game to watch. Baze coming off the bench in this game. He played 27 minutes. He was 7 of 13 from the field. He even hit a 3. He had 9 boards. He had 2 blocks, 2 assists. He had 16 points. Bazley, I don't know what the long-term plan is with Bazley. My guess is if you take a look at his contract, and remember that he came over in that trade for Dario Saric, but next season he is going to be a restricted free agent. So the qualifying offer is $6.2 million. I don't know if he's worth $6.2 million. He's making 4.2 this year. He's somebody who potentially could be a part of this team. He's got length. He's got athleticism. He's got defensive capability. Like you said, he doesn't have really good interior finishing. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Suns navigate moving forward in the offseason with him, because he could be one of those pieces as a restricted free agent that you try to hold on to, simply because with the price of KD, the price of D-Book, and the price of DA, plus the half-guaranteed contract of CP3, you're going to need roster fillers, and he can do that. But he possesses a lot of really good basketball skills. I just don't know how transferable they are on a night-to-night basis.
No, I mean, the thing is with Jock is his defense sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of suspect, but the thing is with Bazley tonight or today, Easter Sunday, he was deterring those shots at the rim, man. His rim presence was it's for real. What was nice is I feel like the last few weeks or so, the Suns, like, defense at the rim, they're letting guys go in there and get those easy layups. He made it almost impossible for those guys to get good looks. That's the one thing he does. Only 2 personal fouls. And that was the thing with him coming over here, is he was good at, shot blocking, obviously. He excelled at that, but just playing defense around the rim, using his body in the right ways, not drawing the foul. And that's what he did today for the most part that I saw. It's like anytime guys are going over there, you see his long arms reach out, and that ball will just go like an extra 2 or 3 inches high off the glass and just hit the front of the rim and bounce off. He's good in that way. So if you want that, you definitely have that. I'm not saying it's there's going to be any playoff minutes, but there's just stuff out there he was trying. I'm like, man, like if he can get that stuff down, he'd be pretty decent. He would make 1 or 2 moves, and then he would lose the ball in certain situations off his leg. Someone would just have an easy swat. It looks like DA kind of in his rookie year, kind of that kind of stuff. And you just realize like how good DA is with the ball after watching Bazley. But then after a while, though, he kind of picked stuff up. He was like, all right. I was like, this guy can actually, he has some confidence. He was failing over and over again in front of the Clippers bench. Some of it was kind of just embarrassing, I feel like, because of him just losing the ball. But he kept going at it. And that's what I loved about him. He didn't stop. That guy has absolute confidence in himself to get better. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to play big playoff minutes, but if you need some defense, he can be that guy just to come in. And if Biz, when he comes back, if Biz is in foul trouble, maybe you can throw him in there, play some defense.
Yeah, it depends on the matchup. I don't think we'll see much of him in the postseason.
No.
I truly don't. But as Han Sagan says in the chat, you need these guys. And I agree with that. Saben Lee. Darius Bazley is one of the guys that you need in the NBA. Long, athletic, and a defender, and somebody who in time can grow. Now, the question simply becomes, are you willing to groom and grow? Because we had Jalen Smith, and, that was like first train out of Phoenix into Indiana. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Let's get Torrey Craig back here. So it's going to truly come down from an organizational standpoint, how they want to navigate this roster next season. Now, Saben Lee, amazing game. The Saben game, right? I can't wait for Jam Star because the 82nd game, it's always funny. In the 82nd game, you always get a weird Jam Star. 25 points. Now, granted, he was 8 of 21 from the field, but that's expected from your backup to the backup point guard. He had 10 assists, so a 25 and 10. He had a couple steals in this game. Athletic, flying, high flying, trying to dunk over anybody who can get in his way. Is Saben Lee an NBA player? Like, should he be on an NBA roster next year? Because he's a two-way guy. Who's been a two-way journeyman. Has he put enough on his resume to find himself permanently on a roster next season? And if so, is it with the Suns or is it without?
I say yes, and I've always loved Saben. I really have. When he comes in, I think the first 2 games he played lately before this last game, he was okay. His passes were a little off. He was kind of out of sync with the offense, but it was like his first time playing in a while. But just the effort he gives you out there, man. I hope he's back on the Suns. I'm not saying he's going to be, but I just hope he is, because I thought of him as our backup point guard in a way, because he's a guy that knows what to do on the floor. He has a high IQ. I know he said it was a little sloppy coming back, but it just takes some time to get back in sync with things. But he knows how to cut to the rim, make himself available in certain situations where a lot of guys would just be standing around. You saw that tonight too, with some cuts to the rim, him finishing at the basket. It was good earlier in the year. Tonight he had a few misses that were kind of easy, but the fact is that he was getting to the rim, and if some guys were being double teamed out on the perimeter or something, he was cutting, getting to the basket or getting to the ball to help them out. Like, he's just always available on the floor, and he plays big, man. Like he said, he's trying to dunk on guys. He has hops for sure, and he
does.
He plays just bigger. He's like, he kind of reminds me like of a Bledsoe, not the same fashion, but just like a big guy. It doesn't seem like it, but then when he hits somebody, like, oh, the guy's flying the other way.
Yeah, facts.
To me, I want him back. I really do. But it just seems to me that he won't be for some reason, because a lot of these guys that end up showing up late in the season or something, you're like, oh, Saben Lee's gone. Oh, dang it. Like, I liked him though. I liked him, but then now he's going to be on another team that will face in the playoffs next year or something. I seriously like this guy, and I'm seriously upset he's not going to be on a playoff roster. I love the dude, man.
Well, especially with Cameron Payne hurting his back in the last game. Like,
yes,
the thing about Saben Lee that makes him different than Darius Bazley is we only saw Darius Bazley play 6 times this year, right? Like, he barely played for the Suns, whereas Saben Lee, he played in 22 games for the Phoenix Suns this season. I mean, he was heavily involved, considering CP3 was hurt, considering Cameron Payne was hurt for a very prolonged period of time. Saben got his opportunities. He went for 5.5 points on the year. He shot 38% from beyond the arc. He averaged 2.5 assists. In 14.5 minutes played, it's not nothing. He definitely showed, due to his athleticism and his ability to get to the basket and his speed and his quick first step, he is somebody who's going to be on a roster in the NBA somewhere. He reminds me of like a Toronto Raptor or something. Like, I could see him. I could see him on the Raptors next year, right?
He looks like, he's a Raptor.
There's
You're
something
right.
there's something about it. So it's going to be interesting again to see what happens with him in the offseason, because when we talk about Bazley, we talk about Saben Lee, like those are guys that we as fans enjoy watching. But as time progresses and the organization makes decisions on how they want to construct their roster, it's always the fringe guys who end up somewhere else. And I can see both of them not being a part of this team. I'm with you. I wish that Saben Lee was a part of the postseason roster as a two-way contract. He will not be, because I feel like he is one of your, if Cameron Payne goes down, if we need somebody, granted, like we're getting ready to head into Devin Booker and Kevin Durant for 40 minutes a game territory, right? Like that's the postseason. But Saben Lee is just a good fringe guy to have. But I guess the advantage of him not playing is we don't have to hear about him whenever we're having a bad game like we did last season with Aaron Holiday. Because Campaign in the playoffs last year was fucking garbage. So we were all just like, dude, Aaron Holiday.
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, is that going to be a thing where we're going to be like, I wish Saben Lee was here? Yeah, I would.
Cameron Payne sucks.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, but there's nothing we can do about it this time. You know what I mean?
Yep, because he won't be on there. But just in case none of you remember, 13 games played last season in the postseason for Cameron Payne. He averaged 4.2 points. He shot 29.7% from the field and 16.7% from beyond the arc. And he averaged 2.3 3-point attempts per game. Like, he was bad last season. So hopefully we don't run into that as we navigate this postseason.
No, that's huge.
It's
kind of. I was already on the side of like KD's here, and I don't think that's going to matter as much.
Precisely. I'm with you there. Again, with KD, with that extra 40 minutes, it takes a lot of different aspects away from the reliability that you have to have on the bench. So,
hey Joe, where you going with that gun of yours?
Whew, felt good to play a drop. I almost went 30 minutes without playing a drop. Oh my God, I'm over here just
White Duckling over there or what?
I'm like, I want to click something. So Josh Okogie won the Dan Marley Hustle Award presented to him prior to the game. I'll ask you this, Matthew. Was that the right choice?
It kind of came out of nowhere, but it makes sense. Like when it happened, when it was announced, or when they were talking about like who do you want? I was thinking Biz. I was like, I think Biz deserves it, but it makes sense to give it to Okogie. Like, how did I not think of Okogie? He's like my favorite player on the team. It's well deserved, but I saw a picture too. Where was the trophy? I didn't see the trophy. Was there a trophy out there? The big M or whatever?
Yeah, it's that big 9 thing.
It's a 9. Yeah,
that's it's a 9.
Yeah,
but I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either. Maybe someone broke it. That thing's huge. It's massive. It probably hit a doorway.
Dan Marley was walking it in, and he clipped it on a doorway and broke it. Now it's a 6.
Yeah,
it fell down. No, I think it's the right choice.
Yeah.
You think about kind of how we define the Hustle Player Award, and I know early in the season it was definitely something that Jock Landale was the front runner for, because of his ability to come off the bench, provide that shot of energy on the offensive end, and run around looking like a cockatoo the whole time he was doing it. But as the season progressed, it's Okogie, and I think that we all realized that while Devin Booker was out, and once Mikal Bridges was gone, Okogie really stepped up and started providing some defensive and consistent defensive stops, and his rebounding ability and his ability to just elevate above all other people. And his Twitter handles call me nonstop. Like, that's the definition of hustle. So congratulations to Okogie. I think that's the right choice.
Yeah, I think when Mikal and Cameron Johnson left, they left a big hole in my heart. KD was here. It filled it up most of the way, but I think Okogie kind of completed it, because even tonight with his help defense on Kawhi was frustrating the shit out of Kawhi.
Yes,
tonight.
He was.
So it's those situations where you're like, if you're going to play the Warriors, who's going to be that guy to help stop these guys, at least make it difficult? And then you worry about like the reffing, are the Warriors that team, are they going to get the calls all the time? You can't really with Okogie because he just doesn't foul. So, you know what I mean? So that's always such a huge thing to have Well, is it even an award though that matters? I mean, even the MVP doesn't
No.
matter. No
No,
one cares
yeah.
about the MVP.
No one cares
really.
anymore.
Except for
Yeah.
Embiid. It'll never win it. It sucks.
Embiid will win it this year. No, it's an award that only us Suns fans even know exists. Like if you go to your OKC buddies and you're like, "Hey man, dude, Josh Okogie won the Marley Award," they're like, "The fuck are you
Marley.
talking about?" They're
What is he-
Marley. How
What
do
does
you
he eat there
spell
for
that?
free now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets unlimited gorilla wings.
Yeah. Is he eat a lot of tater tots there? I don't understand.
Good for him. He gets all the tater tots he wants.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
Wait, did you do it?
I
you
did
do
it. Did you do
Oh,
it?
I just pulled it up a while ago. I just
Oh,
have it up because I didn't know if you were doing it or not.
Oh, I did it. So
Okay, well, I'll just
you,
play this.
you can still wear that anyways. So the subreddit stakeout. Ooh, I can actually pull up a banner for this one. Let's see here. Boom. There we go. So here's what was going on. And this was a fun subreddit to be around because the Clippers didn't know what they wanted. The fans. Like literally one of the first comments, half the subreddit is rooting to tank, the other to win. And that's what it was. It was people just going back and forth because a bunch of them didn't want to play the Suns, but they knew if they lost that they could potentially be in the play-in. So they didn't want to lose. And then, of course, there's the whole you don't want to tank mentality, right? So all these arguments are going back and forth. But here's some of the other comments that people had in the subreddit. Anyone else think the Kings are more scarier than the Suns? And then somebody responded, "You smoking crack?" and then somebody simply said no. So, that's one of the conversations. Do you want to play, even if you lose this game, but the Pelicans lose, which did happen, they would be the 6th seed. And the 6th seed, which is now the Golden State Warriors, is going to play the Kings. So there's a lot of, would you rather take the Kings? Would you rather take the Kings? And everyone's like, yes, we'd rather take the Kings because this Suns team is scary. And again, the Kings are an unproven commodity. Better Clips match up 5th or 6th seed. And then somebody said facing the Kings is preferable to facing the Suns. And then somebody said, I was thinking that too. So that just fortifies what I just said. Ross reminds me of Obi Trice.
I don't remember what that guy looks like, though.
Obi Trice. Real name, no gimmicks. 2 trailer park girls.
Do you know what he looks like?
Outside. Yeah, I know what Obi Trice looks like. He's part of D12, homie. He kind of looks like him, kind of.
Does he look like him?
Yeah, throw a hat on him like he looks like Obi Trice. So I thought that was a good observation. And then somebody popped in, a Warriors fan popped in. He said, as a Warriors fan, I'm offering my strength for a Clippers spirit bomb. Please win. Thank you. So what's that tell you, Matthew?
They're scared, right?
Not even the Warriors wanted to play the Suns.
No one wants to play the. And I know the Kings are hearing that too. And I hope the Kings kill the Warriors. I can't wait to watch that series.
That's going to be a fun one.
That's just a better matchup. I think the Suns and Clippers are a better matchup just to watch in the first round. And then the Warriors, just the offense is going at it. It's going to be pretty stellar.
Yeah, that's going to be good. And think about that. That's all Pacific Division right there. Every member of the Pacific Division, by the way, made it to the playoffs. Now, granted, the Lakers are in the play-in, but every member of the Pacific Division is in the playoffs. Let's see what else we got here. I still can't believe they have a guy called Jock. And then somebody said somebody responded, yeah, with a stupid mullet hawk.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of his hair. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
I think you're right.
Just doesn't look good. It's not full. He's not 12 or 18 years old where it's like not balding. You know what I mean? So it looks good on an 18-year-old.
Last comment I had, and then if you have any, you can add them. We definitely need a head coach with an actual offensive system that sets up Kawhi's game. In this game only, I counted 4 times when he's trying to execute his pull-up jumper and gets 3 guys over him already. So we talk about Ty Lue as the adjustment master.
Yeah.
Right? He's a coach that people really respect for his ability to make adjustments, both in game and in series. Something that we talked about ad nauseum. If you go back 2 years ago and watch our Western Conference previews for that season and whatnot, that's what it was all about. But from the inside looking out, they're sitting there and they're just like, dude, he can't even coach Kawhi right. So just keep that in the back of your mind as you prepare to make any arguments relative to the Suns and the Clippers with your buddies, with your friends, and with random people on the street. Do you
Yeah.
have anything on the subreddit you saw, Matthew?
Yeah, I saw that Kawhi said, "Give me the Suns. I don't give a fuck." I'm sure.
Oh yeah, because
I'm
that's
sure he cares.
Kawhi.
Does he even care about basketball?
Yeah,
I'm just joking.
Kawhi
He
doesn't talk.
does. It's just crazy how those two, him and Paul, just can never link up together.
Mm-hmm.
That's a scary team with them, and it'll always be a scary team. Maybe 10 years from now, we'll be like, dude, that team should have won. They could have
Yes.
won. They should have won.
Yes,
At least a couple finals.
all correct.
That's all
the
I
only.
got.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
Any other notes you had on this game, Matthew?
Oh no, I almost put the same glasses back on. Nope.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters, it's a reminder, subscribe, rate, and review. If you're watching along live, you're watching at a different time, hit that thumbs up button. Lets other Suns fans know where to come and watch the best and original post-game podcast on Planet Orange. Matthew, 82nd game of the season. Who are you giving your Jam star to?
Saben Lee.
It's got to be,
Rest
right?
in peace. Yeah.
Yes.
That box
3-8.
score was not 44 minutes.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Damn, only took off 4 minutes in the game.
He's like, go play, man. This is for you, for the rest of the league. Some other team, for the Raptors.
Suns Fever 83 agrees with you, as does Coda Kid. Suns Down Under podcast. What a great name that is, by the way.
Did you make the graphics for that too? I saw it in the little chat.
Yeah, I literally made it while I was on their podcast the other night. I was sitting there talking to them.
Oh, were you?
And then I was like
Cool.
making the graphics at the same time.
That's a badass name. I love that. Now when I tell my friends, be like, it's the Aussie, the Aussie Suns. What's the name of your podcast? Suns Down Under podcast. I can remember.
Too easy. So, and shout out to those guys for one, creating great content, and two, for listening to my suggestion. I truly appreciate it. Ted Lubin gives it to Al McCoy. Good call, man.
Yeah.
Whew.
Rough. I saw that video. It was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is okay. And then Booker comes on there. Don't say anything.
Don't.
And like, because Books, he seems more emotional than the other guys. Just a little bit, you know?
Well, because he gets
Like,
it.
oh,
He gets it. He
Yeah.
gets it. So, yeah, there you go. So, Jam stars of the game right there. So, again, with the Phoenix Suns finishing 45-37 on the season, brings up a little trivia.
You know what time it is.
trivia time.
All right. So I was researching this today as I'm writing a piece for Bright Side of the Sun. Every week, I put together something called Center of the Sun, and it's a weekly recap that's on the website. And as I was putting it together, I noticed, I'm like, well, let's see how this Suns record, where it ranks for the franchise. So out of 55 regular seasons, what number is this relative to finish when it comes to winning percentage? Their final winning percentage is 54.9%. Where does that fall out of 55?
22.
29.
29.
29. Yep. So it's a
A lot of winning
29
seasons. That's
It's
good.
a lot of winning seasons. It's a
Yeah.
lot of winning seasons. All right. So my next question. How many Suns teams have had a worse record than 45-37 and made the postseason?
0.
Nope.
9.
A little lower.
6.
7. That's correct. 7. 7 other Suns teams had a worse record than this and made the postseason. Okay. The worst was in 1984/85. The 36 and 46 Phoenix Suns made the postseason. Now, there's only one other time that the Suns had a worse record than 45-37, but entered as a higher seed. They were a 3 seed. What year did they enter the playoffs with a record worse than the current one, but a higher seed?
86.
Nope. 2 more guesses.
72.
Nope. 1 more guess.
2000. No. 79.
Nope. So close. The Cinderella Suns. The 1976 Cinderella Suns, who went to the NBA Finals, entered the playoffs 42-42, but as the 3rd overall seed in the Western Conference. Obviously, they made it to the NBA Finals. They lost to the Boston Celtics in that. So again, it's weird to see this team with this record be a 4 seed. But again, you see the entire landscape of the Western Conference, and it makes sense. What I did find kind of interesting was I went back and I looked. Dave King put together 14 predictions prior to the season. Okay, this is the last metric I got for you. He had 14 different predictions. How many of those predictions do you think he got right?
8.
No, here we go. Here were Dave King's predictions. So, Dave, if you're listening, I'm reminding you. Prediction number 1, the Suns will win 55 games this year, finishing 3rd West. He was wrong on both of those. They will start slow and finish strong. I don't know about that. Jay Crowder will come back to the team before opening night with or without a contract extension. No trade. Wrong. James Jones won't make any major trades that impact the top 7 players, but he will pick up somebody that plays 15 to 20 minutes per game. Wrong. DeAndre will be fine this year. He will marginally improve his numbers. Hear his name mentioned above among the possibilities for All-Star reserve. Wrong. Then he won't ultimately make it. Unfortunately, his defensive effort will regress a little bit, which had me most excited about his future as a championship core piece. Devin Booker will be an all-star and all-NBA player again. Wrong. Chris Paul will be
all-NBA, can he?
He won't be. There's no way.
No?
He only played in 55 games. 50.
I know, but the new rule starts next year.
Yeah, but he only played in 53. There's no way that voters are going to give a guy who played in 53 with all the guard play that's in the NBA right now. There's no way. I guarantee you, Devin Booker.
No, I don't think he will, but he should.
Chris Paul will be an all-star reserve again, but won't make all-NBA. Wrong. Mikal Bridges will make second-team all-defense, won't top 15 points per game in scoring, and his three-point shooting remained in the 35 to 38%. But we will all say he had a better season. Wrong. Cameron Johnson won't sign an extension this month and will set a new career high in scoring this year at about 15 points per game. His rebound average will be less than 6 per game. That one he got kind of right. He didn't sign that one he got right because he's averaging like 16.1. Johnson will sign a new 5-year contract next summer directly from the Suns. Wrong. Monty Williams' love child this season will be Jock Landale. He'll get more minutes than I think he should, even more than Dario and Biz at the backup center position. That's like kind of right because he does have more minutes than him.
Did Johnson, he didn't sign with the Nets yet, right?
No, but that's not till the offseason.
Okay.
But he is I think he's is he a UFA?
He's unrestricted, right?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Come on.
Well, we'll see. Maybe not. Wrong. By the end of the season, Dario will be a key rotation player, but wrong. The Lakers won't make the playoffs due to injuries and lack of depth. Wrong. The Grizzlies and Suns, last year's number 1 and number 2 seeds in the West, will finish in the 3 to 6 range. Wrong. The Clippers will get the top seed.
Jeez, man.
Warriors will get the number 2 seed. Wrong. The Nuggets will have everyone excited, but will still only finish in the 3 to 6 range. Wrong. Suns will make the Western Conference Finals, but lose in 6 to the eventual champ. To be determined. So there you go. Sorry, Dave, that I put you on blast.
So that just tells everybody just don't go to Brightside and read anything because they absolutely know nothing what they're talking about.
John did pick Denver, show you. Yes, I did, and we'll talk about that on the jammies. Okay, the jammies are coming.
Exciting.
For those of you who don't know what the jammies are. They are our annual awards that we give out to different players. We have all kinds of awards. We did them in the preseason, and we compare the preseason to the end of the season. So very exciting. Wrong. I got some right. I got some right. You got some. You got a couple right.
Rudy Gobert punching someone on game 82.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that here in a second. But it's definitely one you got to tune in for. It's gonna be on Tuesday. Or I'm sorry, Wednesday. Wednesday's when we're doing it. Yeah, Wednesday, 9:30 p.m.
Yep.
Right after the play-in game. So make sure that you guys
right after the Thunder game. Yeah.
Right after the Thunder.
Thoughts. Brains.
All right. So a few things we want to talk about before we get out of here. You mentioned it briefly, but what the fuck is going on in Minnesota, man? The Minnesota Timberwolves, who are fighting to make the playoffs today, have Rudy Gobert punch Ryan Anderson in the chest, and then they just like send him home. Like that's the tweet that came from the Timberwolves side. It's like, we have sent Rudy Gobert home. Like the game was still going on. Jaden McDaniels, their defensive stalwart, gets mad at something, punches the inside of like the tunnel, breaks his hand. Like,
oh, did that happen too? Oh my gosh.
They won the game. They beat the Pelicans, which was an important game for both teams. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, man, like game 82, like an A bomb went off.
Yeah, and I saw the punch, and then Rudy Gobert backs up about
Like
20 feet.
like
You
a
do not.
Rudy Gobert.
No one's even holding him back. That looks bad, man.
Mhm.
You wait till someone holds you back, and then they push you back.
Well, Ryan
You don't
Anderson
back
went
up.
right at him, and they had to hold
Exactly.
him back.
He
right?
got held back. He did it perfectly because you're not going to fight there on the floor, but you got to find bodies and throw yourself into some bodies so they hold you back. No one was holding Rudy Gobert. They probably wanted him to get in there and get punched or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that happened. And also in the Clippers game too, Bones and Plumlee went at it too.
Mhm.
No punches.
I feel
but
like that was
they almost
different,
kissed.
though. Yeah, they got up in there. But I feel like
Yeah.
when Rudy Gobert like Ryan Anderson carries with him a veteran presence that's respected. And I was reading a piece that somebody literally put out yesterday, and it was Rudy Gobert talking about Ryan Anderson, how sometimes he provides feedback that is a little upfront and a little direct, but he sees it. You know, he's like, I see it as a positive because he cares about me, and he's giving feedback in that game. He just punched him in the chest, and then like you said, backed up. Like it's not a good
Does
look.
anybody know what they were
Again.
saying? I wonder what they were.
Not
doesn't
yet.
matter. I
Somebody
mean,
will.
it just looks bad. It's not as bad as the Draymond punch, but it's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
Especially because it's Gobert, right? And
Exactly.
Gobert always has that target on his back of just being the
Mhm.
most annoying player.
Mhm.
Never supported by anybody. Always
Mm.
snubbed by the All-Star team,
Yeah.
All-Star games. So I don't know, man. That's a rough look.
Not a good look for Rudy Gobert. I'll tell you what else isn't a good look. The Dallas Mavericks have been eliminated. We didn't really talk about it
Yes.
much on the last pod, but it's definitely one I want to get a couple jabs in
Weird.
because I can't stand the Mavericks. It's not even the Mavericks I can't stand. One, I can't stand watching them because Luke is just very hard to watch. But two, their fans, to all the people who did all that massive shit talking. I'm petty. I mean, Eddie Johnson said it. He said, hey, after everything that they said last year, go on Twitter and make sure that they hear you. So
Weird. Why?
I
You
love
guys are
it.
so strange. I don't
yes,
understand
we are.
that.
I
But it's-
well,
I know,
what
but it
I
just
did
doesn't mean
last year
anything.
is I bookmarked so many tweets and I
Yeah.
hit every
They
one
had a
of
good
those
reason
tweets.
to talk shit.
Yeah, they did. But
This whole go ahead.
But what I have never been a fan of, and you know this, is whenever you get in one of those kind of back and forths, it's whenever you start bringing up your championships, it's very childish to me. It's like Klay Thompson holding up the 4 fingers, right? It's like you're beating the shit out of us. He's like, yeah, 4 fingers. It's like, yeah, that doesn't matter right now, dude. Like, good for you. You've had successful seasons and you've been a part of championship teams, but we're beating you right now. This is what matters. And that's the Mavs thing right now, is anytime you go at a Mavs fan, they're like, well, at least we won a ring like once, and you're like, yeah, okay, cool. Like 12 years ago, you guys won a ring. What does that have to do with right now? You guys are not you are not in the fucking playoffs. And I saw this this really good statistic that Mike Vigil from the Timeline put. He said, since February 1st, Luka and Kyrie on the court together were a plus 49. Kyrie with Luka off was a plus 47. Luka with Kyrie off was a negative 47. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, so a couple things. The whole championship thing, that's a different era. Whatever the Mavs did back then, that doesn't count. Klay doing it that's the same team that's fighting them right now. I think that matters because what we're doing is they won, of course, last year, but it doesn't have anything to do with this year. But they still are champions. They're the defending champions. I feel like that makes more sense. It does look kind of stupid. It is kind of funny when Steph Curry's sitting over there just like he's always on the other side of the bench, just like looking off, like just happy. And then Klay's over there looking at the other team, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, talking shit. I think that if the Suns do that, like, hey, we won last year, and they're not going to wave one around, but they're going to be like, hey, we're champs. I accept that. I really do. The whole thing with Luka and Kyrie, as soon as they got together, they had a few good games. I think you called it. A few good games, then they would kind of tank and just not be the same. Not tank literally for a pick, but just go downhill. They would not be the same team. That's exactly what happened. But it's kind of weird. I've never seen it this way, where Luka is unhappy. And I don't think it has to do with Kyrie, but of course Kyrie's on the team now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it does. Maybe it's something off court. I've just never seen this happen where you have a top 5 player in the league. Luka is a top 5 player, right?
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah.
He is.
All of a sudden, you guys are not fighting for a playoff spot, not even in the play-in.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity. You're fighting for a pick to keep a pick for next year. That's crazy to me because I thought this team could have easily made the playoffs. Whatever
Oh
happened,
yeah.
this is the craziest downhill story I've ever heard in my life. And then you had Mark Cuban even defend like the reason they didn't re-sign Brunson because of his dad or something. He said that. He's like, yeah, we
Yeah, I
couldn't
know.
because his dad was in negotiations. What are you talking about? Okay, you guys messed up. You fucked up. All right. And it happens, right? But you guys always let the wrong people walk. And you always just sign the
Yes.
wrong guys to build
Yes.
around Luka. You fucked him over. Now he's probably gonna ask out. Now that's the news, right?
Well,
Is
and
that
not
Luka
just
wants out
that,
of Dallas next year.
but not
1
just
year from now. One
but
year.
not just now, or not just that. Like Kyrie is pretty much gone, right?
Yeah,
Like Kyrie's a free agent.
He's gonna
not
be
going to be
here
there.
in Phoenix. He's
I-
gonna be here in Phoenix.
I'm
Whether you like
not
it or not.
I'm not doubting you. I'm not doubting you on that. And again, going back to the
Use my
championship things, it annoys me again. Like I'm a Dodgers fan. People know, people hate.
What?
Whenever I get into any sort of argument, a sports argument, I never go, yeah, man, well, like 1988, bro. Like 2020, we won one. Like I never bring up the old championships because it's a moot point. It doesn't matter if we play the Giants and the Giants beat the tar out of us. I take it like a man. And it's just so funny to me to see so many people. And again, I'm the side of the podcast that engage on Twitter. Matthew's like living his life. Matthew's like, it's a Saturday. He's driving up.
I have
to
a lot to make up
Jerome,
for in life. All right.
you
I
know?
got off this pod, I got a lot to make up for. A lot of lost years. So I gotta
And
get out there.
whereas I'm just like tapping away on my phone, just be like, you motherfuckers, I'm like, I bookmark your tweet from 8 months ago.
Yeah.
That, it's like exclamation point. Cause I'm petty that way. And I find it fun. It fun. But I also go ahead.
Could we just say though, like the one thing that bothers me is always, oh, this fan base sucks. They're the worst fans. And this fan base, you know what I mean? I guess you do have the good fan bases like
Suns-
Thunder and stuff.
The,
But when
the
teams
Suns
start
can be
to
a bad
win,
one.
when the teams start to win, everyone always hates them. It's always that.
Oh
It's like,
yeah, that's a fact.
why? Just let the other team enjoy it. Who
No,
cares?
I agree with that, but I will say, like, I probably am not a good representative of the Suns fan base because of my pettiness. But I try to be like I'm not. I try to have valid statements, and I do secede when my favorite thing to say is agree to disagree. Because I was going back and forth with this one guy on Twitter the other day, and he was telling me how like being happy that we beat the Spurs is dumb because like Tim Duncan's not still on the team. I'm like, well, that's what a rivalry is. Like that team hurt my feelings, scarred me emotionally in the middle 2000s. So I will always carry a grudge. And he's just like, that's dumb. I'm like, all right, agree to disagree, man. Like I still carry grudges.
Why is it dumb? Like that's what I'm saying. Like Twitter's about just
he
attacking people that have feelings
he
for
had
something.
his argument. He had his argument, and he lived by that argument. He's like, it's the same reason where it's like when you talk about championships, it's like, well, none of those players matter. Okay, like that doesn't matter anymore because it's in the past. So the past is the past. So let it go. But on the other side of the argument, I'm like, yeah, but I still remember the past and it hurts my feelings. So it's like, of course, like everybody, I use it when it benefits me. And like Parker Hines says, I just love talking shit. You got to take it on the chin when they're roasting you. Yeah, we took it on the chin in fucking March 22nd or May 22nd last year. It fucking sucked. But we all sat there. We ate our crow. We, just dealt with it. And then our day came. If we beat
them, though, it makes more sense.
Of course. But they have to fucking be there to do it. Fuckers.
It just doesn't feel the same. They're out of the playoffs.
I know. I'm just happy they're out of the playoffs. I'll say that. All right, real quick before we get out here, I just want to bring up the final standings. For those of you who are watching, you can see it. For those of you listening, I'll explain it. The play-in game starts on Wednesday, right? Tuesday. Tuesday's the first play-in game. And you're going to have in the Western Conference, not on Tuesday, but in the Western Conference, the Lakers are playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. So by beating New Orleans, Minnesota gets to play the Lakers. We'll see what happens with Rudy Gobert. They're without Jaden McDaniels, who is somebody who is very vital to the defensive end especially against somebody like LeBron. The winner of that game will play the Memphis Grizzlies. The loser will play the winner of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the New Orleans Pelicans. So I'm not going to get into who you want, who you don't want, all that fun stuff, just because we have a playoff preview podcast that will be on Thursday at 9:30 following the final play-in game. So we know everything that's set for the first round. But again, the first round matchups, the Clippers and the Lakers, the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors, those are set. On the Eastern Conference side, the 7 and 8 seed is going to be Miami versus the Hawks, which I think that's going to be a fun game to watch, as is the Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors. Chicago's been playing very well recently, and Toronto, surprisingly, is 41 and 41 and is the 9th seed. The first overall seed, the Milwaukee Bucks. The second overall seed, the Boston Celtics. And then you have the 4-5 matchup is going to be Cleveland versus New York. And the 3-6 matchup, one that I know that we'll definitely be tuned into and might be our winner for the must-watch on the Eastern Conference side in the first round, will be Brooklyn versus Philly, Matthew. So anything in there that you're just like excited for, or tell me the one you're excited for and the one you're not going to watch 1 minute of.
I was looking at the East side. I'm like, it looks pretty good, but if you get the Milwaukee-Toronto series, I'm like, I'm not going to watch that. But I'm looking forward to the Miami-Boston series, of course. But Sacramento, Golden State, that's going to be the one. That's a huge one. That's what everyone's going to be watching. Definitely must watch. But all these playoff matches right now look good until they start, and you'll kind of figure out, like, all right, this one's going to be over pretty soon.
Yep. Nate in the chat, who was on the show the other day, says, why does 7 play 8? It doesn't seem right. Essentially, the way it works, Nate, is 7 plays 8. If 8 wins, they're in.
Yeah.
And then 7. So essentially, if you get the 7 or 8 seed, it's a double elimination for you to lose out of the playoffs, right? That's the advantage of 7, 8. Instead of going like 7 versus 10 and 8 versus 9, I get what you're saying, but that's the purpose behind that. This is one of the few things that makes sense in the NBA. So before we get out of here, play-in tournament, you a fan or you not a fan?
Yeah, keep it. Keep it.
Like
I think they're going to add the whole first seed picks their own opponent, because it is kind of ridiculous, man, going into the playoffs. The first seeds don't even know who they're going to play till like 2 days before.
Yeah,
it's
seriously.
crazy.
It's like, yeah.
They
On
get the
Friday,
rest,
you'll know.
but-
On Friday, you know, but you don't get any game planning. Whereas like the Suns for the next week can sit there and game plan, can watch footage, can really identify the weaknesses in the Los Angeles Clippers. Whereas the 1 seed, now in theory, if you're the 1 seed and you're playing the 8 seed, you should beat the shit out of them.
You should, but then they have the momentum too. Remember?
This is true.
The Pelicans.
We remember that from last year.
Yep.
That's for sure. So, all right. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here on this Easter Sunday, Matthew?
I think I'm good. I'm very excited for these pods coming up.
Me too.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
We got
and
some
the
new
playoffs
graphics
start.
coming your way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see Air tonight.
I heard.
Yeah.
And
I've been-
Shannon was pretty excited. She's like,
Yeah.
I heard it's a pretty good movie.
I
I'm like,
told her
"Okay,
it
don't
was.
fall
She never trusts my
asleep." She's like,
my
I heard it's gonna be
suggestion.
good.
Like the moment that preview came out, I sent it to her and she's like, "Oh my god, is this a movie about shoes?" I'm like, "Yeah, but like it's a story behind it, like Ben Affleck, Matt
It'll be
Damon,
good.
like it's
Yeah.
So
And then
I'm
Succession is on tonight. So
Yeah,
if you
well,
guys are caught
we're
up
on
yet,
we're on season 3, episode 8.
I cannot
so-
wait till you start the season.
Oh, me too. I mean,
Oh
we
my gosh.
rewatched the entire fucking series. Like, give us
I just
props
restarted
for that.
watching season 1 last night.
Yeah, it's
I'm doing
so
the same
slow
thing.
for the first 5 episodes. It's slow, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden
it
it's like.
is.
But Greg is so good in the first ones that you forget how good he is. Him and Tom,
Yeah.
he's so good in the first
Just
one.
wait
So,
till the new season.
couple things I want to throw out before we get out of here. Libertarian Sasquatch, $4.99 in the super chat. Thank you. And he says, can't
Thank
wait
you.
to see Katie and Book go at Russ. That's going to be fantastic. And then, of course, the legend Ted Lubin, $16 in the super
Every
chat.
year.
Says, yes, every year he does this great podcast season, guys. Here's $1 for each victory we'll get in this postseason. Matthew, we did it. We made it through another regular season doing every
did
fucking game.
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
Oh, we still got a whole
It goes by
postseason. But
quick. All the complaining about all the games and it's over. All right, now everyone can go live their lives not playing basketball that are not playing basketball.
it's just
Have
and we have
fun.
the whole postseason. Like, I can't wait for this postseason. This is gonna be so much fun. But the
Good
regular
energy.
season, the 2022-2023 seasons behind us. This is the Suns GM Session podcast, the original post-game podcast on Planet Orange. We didn't miss a show this year, I don't think.
One show.
What show did we miss?
It was one in the middle of the season. I
Yeah,
forget
well,
what happened.
fuck that show. We went 81-82. I think we did a pretty good job.
A
So
lot better than a lot of these players that are playing in the NBA.
yeah,
So,
no shit, right? Like, but a reminder again, Jamsters, Wednesday night we're going live with our end of year jammies. Friday night we're going live with the 2023 postseason preview. So make sure you come in, say hi, watch, subscribe, and then we're Going to be live after the first postseason game, which is going to be sometime
Yeah.
next Sunday. A week from today is the next time the Suns actually play. So
Oh, so excited.
we look forward to seeing you guys then. Until then, everybody, hope you have a great rest of your Easter. Have a great work week. Just enjoy it. This is the best time of year. Playoff basketball. The sprint begins now.
Yeah, go home and love your family, everybody.
Whoop.